So we got brand new Black Panther gameplay, a whole bunch of info, and just loads and loads of interesting stuff to talk about in this video. So I want you guys to drop a like right now and rate this scene that you're seeing in the background out of 10. We also got some brand new screenshots for this DLC which look incredible, and most importantly we have a brand new MCU skin coming for Captain America on August the 17th, which of course is the exact same day we are getting the War for Wakanda DLC. They went ahead and dropped a tweet that says, "He can do this all day, inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Captain America's Marvel Studios The Avengers outfit shows the first Avenger about to form an unbreakable family." This stuff just literally come out of nowhere, may I add. They have literally just dropped a ton of Black Panther exclusive info to multiple different outlets, so let's just go ahead and break down what's been going on. So first of all, the gameplay that you're seeing in the background, there will ultimately be snippets. You'll see there's one from Xbox Dynasty, which is really cool, so I'll leave the original link to that in the description below. That's where we get to see, of course, this little intro scene of just walking around, of course, the new HQ, which again is just absolutely phenomenal. But IGN went ahead and dropped some information as well. Now, none of this stuff is gonna be spoiling the story because almost all of the articles do have some form of a story spoiler, so I'll leave that for you guys to go ahead and dig out if you want to go and have your story spoiled, I guess. But let's dive into the information. So IGN have first stated that the first two story missions for this DLC were around 30 minutes each, which when you take into consideration, I think the overall DLC is like 7 to 8 hours long, so when you take that into account, it does seem like a relatively decent amount of time. Now, there are tons of upgrades. First of all, what was a really big thing is the whole ability to basically pounce on enemies, as you'll see in the background again. And what it did say, and again, this is coming from multiple different articles, but what it does say is another interesting skill sees T'Challa being given the ability to pounce. They can then press the light attack button repeatedly to cut into their foes with T'Challa's claws, making for a brutal and memorable attack. A neat thing about this ability is that it also works on larger foes. If a player unlocks T'Challa's cat grab ability, they will be able to climb on top of large enemies like Exos, with his fellow hero Hulk unable to use their grab attack on these bigger threats. Seeing T'Challa get this extra bit of functionality is exciting, and I honestly couldn't agree more. I think this just looks absolutely flawless. Again, it's one of those definitely brutal attacks, and we did actually get to see a better look at some enemies as well. So first of all, we got our first look at Crossbones in this DLC, so you'll see a screenshot on that in the background. There were also other multiple screenshots again, which just tease a whole bunch of stuff, which really gets a ton of people excited. But one thing that I did want to mention that I think is actually really vital is it says a particularly interesting upgrade is something called Adored Ones, and basically what that does is it spawns two spectral Wakandan warriors to join in the fight, and then it says the King of Necropolis serves as both a team and self-revive, while Realm Shift sees Bust teleporting T'Challa to enemies basically. Then it says another thing as well, which you'll see in the screenshot, is the Claw Company Maskman teleports and throws mines in between railgun shots, while the Claw Company Heavy wields a huge machine gun. And again, like I said, you see this stuff in the screenshots as well, and there's just tons of gameplay out there, which is really good. Now, there is even more stuff, and like I said, there is just tons of stuff where nobody was expecting this, and it just got thrown out there, and everyone's just been flooded with the information. But what it says is regarding Black Panther's heroics, right, in general. So, like, we've kind of had a rough idea with the vibranium stuff, the whole sonic blast, etc. Now, there's a few things right here. So, on one of the articles, it says, once you get into Black Panther's heroic abilities, he starts to really shine. With beads that let him heal his allies and stun enemies, his support heroic is versatile. His his Assault Heroic constructs an upgradable vibranium spear that can pierce and pin targets. Again, that's something that we did see a while back, right, in the trailer as well. So that's the Assault Heroic, which seems like it's going to cause a ton of damage. And of course, that's a range attack kind of build you can go for, right? Then it says finally his Ultimate Heroic summons Burst, which is the Panther Protector, to attack enemies on the team's behalf. And again, we've seen some sort of gameplay on this stuff as well, which if I find the snippets, I'll be able to showcase that in the background of this video. But you see all of this stuff, and although nobody saw it coming, of course, as well, it's like you really can say, okay, this DLC is actually shaped to be one of the biggest, and it makes sense now. We've had such a long delay on this, but everything makes sense. It's like all of the pieces are just falling together, because the amount of time that seems to have gone in this is huge. And you guys know, if you've been watching the last couple of videos, but I keep going on about the fact that this is a DLC where it's not just a scenario of they drop the DLC and then you never go back to it scenario. I think it's one of those things that they drop right now, and then of course they go ahead and just build different layers onto it, which again would be a no-brainer considering how much of a different DLC this is. We haven't got anything like this. You can genuinely not even compare it to the Kate Bishop DLC, the Hawkeye DLC, and taking into account as well, although those weren't essentially the most anticipated characters people were looking for, it still did add a decent amount of like a new experience to the game, right? But of course, when you see this stuff, the new HQ in general, the new combat with Black Panther, it honestly looks absolutely incredible. Is it going to be enough to keep people drawn into the game? Like I said in yesterday's video again, yes and no. As long as they don't just go radio silent for a long time after the DLC, and they actually remain active in the community, keeping people up to date with what's going on, and of course keeping Black Panther in general just a fresh character, with new elements like the skins, the MCU stuff, etc., which again, they are doing with Captain America, and so far, again, it just looks absolutely incredible. All of this stuff is coming out of nowhere, but I'm guessing it's going to go radio silent now until Monday, which is the deep dive video, where we of course know there is going to be so much more information. We're talking about the deep dive video in general, which I would imagine is going to be like maybe 10-15 minutes long, and then there's like a 2-hour further deep dive with people in the community. It's going to be Greg and of course the voice of Kamala Khan, just going through absolutely everything that's been showcased, and then taking a maxed out Black Panther into the harm room. And that stuff again is huge because combat in this game plays such a big role. But guys, leave your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. That's going to wrap up this video here. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and adios amigos.